It definitely sounded like someone was pissing at you. What are we cheersing today? To clowns?
Yeah.
To clowns.
To clowns. Hi, BookTube. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Rebecca.
And today we're doing a split screen of our split point of views for the adaptation It, based on Stephen King's novel It. Prior to our viewing, I have never read this book before. On the other hand,
I did read it. I finished it this morning.
we just got back from the theater. This is fresh.
This is super fresh.
This is like on the spot. The
100%
feelings are
Rotten
raw.
Tomatoes. They are
like,
so raw.
real
Yeah.
right now.
We are going to spoil the movie.
Yeah.
And I will spoil that part of the book. The movie is going to be in 2 parts of the book. I will not be spoiling anything in this book that's going to happen in the next movie. So let me get your initial thoughts.
Okay.
Blindly going into It.
Blindly going into It. Overall, very good. It definitely had its ups and downs, it had its imperfections, it had its great moments, but overall, definitely worth a watch. If you like horror, it was a little unconventional. It still had a cool storyline separate from the horror. It had a lovely kind of meaning about childhood versus adulthood, which I assume could be something that would be explored further in the second half, but we won't talk about that. I'd like to talk about a few things separately. First of all, just the horror aspect.
Okay.
The
spooky shit.
The spooky spooks.
The spookies.
It was okay.
It was okay. Okay.
I was spooked. I had my spooky moments, but this was okay to me. The reviews were looking really good, and everyone was saying fantastic things about it, so I was expecting something a little more. But I think maybe that the reviews were not talking about the horror, because the horror was a little nothing new to me. There is the clown, obviously, and as soon as he gets scary, he contorts a little bit, his mouth opens, there's a million teeth, he like eats children, all great concepts, but as soon as like they showed him quite frequently in just sort of plain sight, and it took away some of his creepiness.
I totally get what you mean.
Like opening scene, pretty much, he's in the sewer, and that was the only scene where it's just like a little bit. One scene later, he was like receding into a well, and you could only see his face, and I was like, ooh, that's creepy.
I found his first scene creepiest.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, it was just something inside very creepy about him. The actor did very well.
Yeah, I agree. The first scene was the creepiest. Yeah, you just see he's like smiling, like it's creepy, right? Then like his mouth opened, and he started doing the reaching thing, and like it got a little too CGI for me.
Yeah, I actually found like the extra
looked...
teeth in the unhinged jaw took away from the creepiness. I found like if he just bit into that kid with his normal mouth,
yeah, that would have been so scary.
So much scarier.
But it was just like, oh, I have a million shark teeth, and it like extends out, and it's like this CGI unroll of. I think a theme throughout the movie for me about the scarier stuff. The scariest stuff for me was the more human moments, and the less monstery, the less CGI, when he was just like him being creepy and saying creepy things. It was the spookiest. Then he starts like, you know, they do this in so many horror movies now, where they'll have someone kind of like wibbly wobbly towards the camera, and then they just zoom it up, so it's like, bah, 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 and they just, next thing you know, they're in front of you. I need more wine before we continue talking.
Okay, I need more vodka cider. What would you call this?
So, the spooky stuff overall, there were some human moments. There is a bad guy. There is a set of bullies. One does get very violent, and it goes into the supernatural. He starts like hearing it or Pennywise voices, and they start telling him to kill people. That was actually scarier to me, and I was kind of sad at how quickly he went down, because he really kind of went down like a chump. Like, he had so few scary scenes. To me, that scene was actually scarier than a lot of the Pennywise scenes. So that's why I say that the scary stuff was just okay. It was too monstery. It was too stuff I've seen before.
Henry is definitely scarier in the book than a lot of... Henry is the bully, the main bully. There are like 4 main bullies. There's Henry, and then his 2 friends are Belch and Victor. The 4th one that comes around is Patrick Hockstetter, and he dies early on. Do you remember? He's like going in the sewers.
Right. The one that looked a little bit like Kylo Ren.
Yes! I know the same thing! But in the books, Patrick is a sociopath. And the whole thing is, Patrick comes in later. Henry is a bully in the beginning. He's just a typical bully. He's awful. They show that He's awful because of his father. Bullies are typically bullied at home. I like that they explored that. Yes. Henry unravels very slowly.
That was, I think, a theme throughout the movie. There's like 6 good guys, 7 bad guys. In this setting, it was still over 2 hours long. You just didn't have time for that. So I get that they had to pick and choose.
Yeah.
Do you feel that they picked and chose wisely?
That's a hard one to say, because I am with you that a lot of the things with Pennywise were just kind of cheesy. Yeah. And I did find Henry more terrifying, and Patrick is more terrifying. In the book, Henry doesn't meet up with Patrick until he's kind of unraveled a little bit, because Patrick is really unhinged. He has like this refrigerator in a dump where he puts animals and then sees how long it takes them to die. Patrick was fucked up. So I feel like personally, they shouldn't have had Patrick in it at all. Because like his whole point in the book was that he's like...
Patrick is the Kylo Ren.
The Kylo Ren guy. They didn't even include that, so there was no point. So they should have just had Henry and his 2 Goonies, and that was it.
Yeah, I do see that. I thought it was interesting that he went looking for them, and it kind of showed that some of the bad guys could be vulnerable too. So
it doesn't discriminate.
It has a purpose there.
Henry he didn't go down that quickly in the book. I don't know really what happens to him in that movie. Did he die?
Henry, the one who looks like Kevin Bacon.
The main one.
Okay.
The mullet guy.
Yeah.
He fell down that well. There's no well in this book, by the way, but anyway.
Really?
No, they go in through the sewers.
Yeah.
But Henry, that doesn't happen in the book.
Does he die?
No. In the book, he chases the kids into the sewer.
But he would already been a little, like, affected by Pennywise, whatever we're calling it. Like, maybe he was already a little magicked up, so... he could survive.
I mean, Pennywise just could have made sure he didn't hit the bottom.
Yeah.
Something very simple like that. We'll see. In the book, they go into the sewer and his 2 friends die. And he gets away and ends up in an asylum. Because he has killed his father.
Yeah.
And they believe that he's killed his friends. I think they actually pin all of the murders on Henry. So Henry ends up in the asylum. But he's a pretty big part of the second half of the book, which is going to be in the movie.
Weird.
So we'll kind of see. Yeah, they might take Henry out entirely.
They could have him played by Kevin Bacon.
That would be so good.
Did you not think he looked like...
I didn't, but now I think he
looked exactly
he
like...
He was Kevin Bacon with a bullet.
Especially like Footloose Kevin Bacon.
I was just going to say, he's Footloose Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
This book is very divided in half. Part of it takes place when they're kids, the other part of it takes place when they're adults, but it switches point of views back and forth.
Okay.
Whereas the movie takes it, the kid half, and then the adult half. As in the book, like, all the stuff that happened in the climax of the movie that we just saw, it doesn't happen until, like, this, like, right here. So, it happens at the end of the book.
So, I wanted to talk for a few moments about some of the character development.
Okay.
And for the main character, the main group of friends, a lot of these things that they were scared of, because they each, like, it took a different form for each of them. Well, most of them. It was different for everyone in the book. Because there was, like, a couple people who was, like, it was just the clown.
It was like the clown 90% in the movie. In the book, it takes the shape very differently throughout.
But it did, like, morph for everybody a little bit differently. It seemed like a bit of a characterization for everyone. 2 most obvious choices. The main male character, it took the form of... You're right. It took the form of Georgie.
Yeah.
So it took the form of his dead little brother.
I will say real quick, like, that's not in the book at all. In the book, he has his arm ripped off. They know he's dead. He's actually just like a one-armed kid in the street. But I did kind of like how they changed that, because it gave Bill a reason to want to go into the Barrens. He was like, I want to go into the Barrens. I think Georgie washed up here or ended up here. In the book, it's just kind of like they play in the Barrens, and that's really it. But Georgie is known to be dead instantly.
Interesting.
Yeah, minor difference. That kind of changes a lot.
It does change a lot.
Yeah.
The one that was more interesting to me was Beverly. It took a few different forms for her. One form it took was her hair, and one form it took was her father.
And the blood.
And the blood.
Was her period.
Exactly, which Stephen King, I guess he just...
Not subtle.
Not subtle. It's like puberty for girls. It's like bloody, right? It's like a bloody explosion.
Like, listen, man, it gets pretty messy, but calm down. My bathroom has never been wall-to-wall covered, even after a sneeze.
Yeah, even after a sneeze. It was heavily implied that there was maybe some sort of abuse going on. Was that explored further in the book?
In the book, he physically abuses her often. He hits her, he throws her.
But not sexually.
It's not so much. Her mother is involved in the book, and at one point, her mother asks, does he ever touch you? And Beverly's kind of confused by this question, and it scares her. So I feel like it's in the movie, if I were to be asked, he sexually abuses her.
That's totally
like,
what it
it's obvious. But in the book, it seems like he doesn't, but a lot of his anger comes from the fact that he wants to sexually abuse her and he's holding back.
Just one thing cut in really quick about the implied sexual abuse. Just to bring it modern day a little bit.
Okay.
You know what I was totally reminded of? He was like, "Are you still my little girl?" And she was like, "Yes, Daddy." And he was like, "I like that." And I was like, that's just like what Trump said recently.
Oh my god!
Because Trump
so
was like,
true.
she said, "Daddy, can I come?" I love that. And it was like, ah,
No,
barf.
a 30-year-old woman should be calling her dad Daddy. No. Gross.
And even if you call your dad Daddy, whatever. But the fact that he was like, "I love it when she calls me Daddy."
She calls me Daddy.
Like, weird.
It's
barf,
gross.
Vomit.
It's
and
gross.
You know what it is? It's the sort of thing that you put in a horror movie when you want to imply sexual abuse is going on. Anyway, but there was the blood explosion. She was having her first period while she was dealing with all of these things. And she was being attacked by her hair, which her father was, like, touching her hair and implying that that was, like, a symbol of her femininity, which she cut it off as a rebellion against that. She was being attacked by that, which was cool, and I liked that. I wish that there was more from some of the other characters.
Eddie kind of had one, too. He was afraid of the leper disease because his mother implies, like, it makes him afraid of being ill and stuff like that. You know, Eddie, he was the one with the...
Oh.
His mother. Yeah.
I didn't get that at all. I do remember, like, she showed up and she was like, "It's time to take your pill." Yeah. She had, like, had her pill in her mouth. And I was just kind of like, that's weird. And, like, it was, like, its nose was moving. It was a little funny to me.
I think he's mostly afraid. Yeah, it was definitely goofy looking. It was... I love horror. I'm really a fan of practical effects. I'm really a fan of movie makeup. Nothing will be scarier than John Carpenter's The Thing because, like, it's real shit. Good. It's real shit. Some fucking CGI weird nose. It's not scary. Our brains know.
CGI.
Our brains know it's not real.
There is CGI out there where I think they could do it. This wasn't it. The amount of effects and the quality of them just took so much out of it for me, to the point where the parts where I was scary were just like the suspense build up, but then something pops out and it's like, oh.
No, well, okay.
Oh, it's just
now
that.
It's just a computer.
I'm trying to think of like good horror movies I saw recently. My favorite at all recent horror movie is Babadook.
Babadook.
It's great. Okay. Do you say Babadook?
Babadook is how I said it?
I say Babadook.
Babadook?
That's kind of... Well, they say it kind of rhymes with book.
Oh, Babadook? I could see that.
And they have, like, Australian accents, so they kind of say Babadook.
Babadook.
Babadook. Oh, what a good movie.
Oh, that was good.
But that was clearly CGI. But it was, like, so stylized. It wasn't, like, trying to be gross and grisly.
Yeah.
It was just, like, here's, like, a drawing that's, like...
That's exactly... It was a drawing come to life.
Yes.
So that's why it was better as CGI.
And there's something about simplistic... that is so scary, and if you try and, like, really wet, gnarly teeth that are super, like, over CGI, they were over CGI'd. So it just kind of ruined some of the scary for me. But the story was cool and good, but what I will say is that really high concept genre fiction tends to be coolest when it has some metaphor, some symbolism, some meaning. I think the one female character's was the most prevalent, but that's also kind of disappointing. The female character wasn't my favorite. It might be, and granted, this is an older story, so it's hard to put this on the standards of
today
stories that are being told today, but abused women, it's not a backstory. It's not enough of a backstory.
It's not.
It's like, just making a female character abused, it's not, it can't be your go-to. It can't be like, how do I make her relatable? Like, you had a whole rainbow of backstories for the male characters, and the female character, she's abused. She was abused. And that's
it. That's what we are. We're just abused.
And on the other side, she was also, like, little manic pixie dream girl at the same time. She was like, everyone wants to jump into the water, and she's like, what are you waiting for, sissies?
Jump into it.
And I was just like, first of all, sissies, let's not go there.
Let's not use the word sissy.
The fact that it was like, you're not man enough. It's not a cool female character. And she was the only female character? Other than, like, a librarian or a mom.
Yeah, she's basically the only girl. I would just want to say right off the bat, can we stop having groups of heroes, people, anything, that have one girl and one black boy?
Yeah.
It's constant.
Avengers, Justice League.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things.
And I like Stranger Things. One girl, one black kid. And I'm just sick of this dynamic.
Like, oh gosh, we need gender diversity, check. Oh gosh, we need racial diversity, check.
And it's always a white girl. Yeah. God forbid you have a woman of color.
Who's gonna relate to that, Rebecca?
God.
Who?
No one. I get it, you're in Maine, it's very white, we're in New England. Sorry, Steve, buddy, my man, you're good. You're good. Just hang out there. It's pretty white, but I don't care. That's not a reason for not having diversity. It's just
it's like we're in New England. You think we've don't have any Asian people? Yeah. There was an Asian person. The bully who died, his mom, I think.
Oh, great.
She had a scene where she walked on screen and like tacked up a poster and then walked off.
Diversity.
Diversity.
They had it.
It was there. It was there. Quit complaining. What more do you want?
All the other female characters, by the way, besides Bev, fucking evil. There was, like, the librarian was kind of bitchy. The girls who bullied Bev at school. Eddie's mom. And it's annoying because Bill's mom was in the book. Richie's parents are in the book. He has a mom.
They took all the moms out.
They kind of took all the moms out. Like, Bill only has a scene with his dad, and our mom's just useless? Like, I don't get it.
What are moms good for?
What are moms? We push them out, we give them peanut butter and jelly, and then that's it.
How many main characters were there in the main group? There's like...
Seven? There's 7.
There's 6 boys and the one girl.
6 boys and 1 girl.
Do you feel like the one token, because it was definitely token, black character...
Mike
was given equal backstory to some of the other characters.
And Mike, I love Mike. He's one of my favorites. I mean, he does come into the group kind of late, even in the book, but he's still a huge part. I'm kind of hoping in the next movie he will have a bigger role.
Okay.
Because he does have a bigger role in the group when they're adults.
I keep seeing this thing in movies. Disney, I think, is the worst offender in that they think having a character present is representation.
That's it. That's all they need.
It's just as long as they're there, that is representation. It's appeasement, and that's what makes it's worse. Yeah. It's saying like, oh, fine, here's 2 seconds. I guess you can have that. Overall, I was expecting more from this movie. I did have a lot of fun watching it, and it was a little spooky, and like that fun kind of. I was like, ooh, it's creepy clowns and creepy monsters. But overall, the spooks were a little disappointing. The backstory, a little disappointing. It did have a good sense of humor. It had some good moments of humor, and I was cool with those. I was fine with them. They added levity when I would argue that it maybe had a little too much levity, but there were still points where, did Sam Raimi direct this?
I totally get what you mean.
When you first see the house, the creepy house, there's like one creepy house. You're like walking down this slightly lower end New England town. Like, it's not great, but then it's like night and day. It's like you're walking down the street and then, oh, why is this rusted wrought iron fence with like creepy dead trees winding in swirls and this creepy Victorian house where there were no Victorian houses over there, and it's really boarded up and old and creepy looking. It was like somebody had like cookie cuttered in a set from another movie.
This is a bad house. Yeah.
It was like fucking slap me up over the face a little harder with it. And the lines, the way it was written wasn't built up like that. I think Beverly was like, oh yeah, I always feel like someone's watching me when I go by that house. I was like, bitch, I would feel like I was being haunted every time I walked by that house. Like, that's not subtle.
Yeah, no one was like, that house doesn't belong there, clearly.
I wouldn't be like, something's a little off about that. I would be like, how the fuck did this house get here? Like, who put this here? Leading me to one other point, just because it was in the same scene when you first see the house. I'm okay with tropes in certain contexts, but the fucking horror trope of just going somewhere that there's no good reason to go. Eddie, he's being chased by some form of it. By the way, he's in the middle of a goddamn open street, and he runs right into that creepy-ass yard, into a gated, creepy-ass, cartoonishly evil yard. And I was like, ugh, really? I can't believe anything else in this scene. I'm just out of it now. And it persisted once they actually went into the house, when they were like, we all need to stick together. It's best when we stick together. And then someone's like, but what's over here? Or someone's like, oh, this room looks like it's full of mannequins covered in drape cloths. You just wander in here.
Yeah, they had that problem in the sewers too, which I will say is one thing they didn't have in the book that pissed me off in the movie. They kept like wandering away from each other after talking about how important it was to stick together. It's lazy writing.
It out. They figured it out. It was like,
it's lazy.
The one thing we need, it's what every horror movie needs, is like stick together. And they figured that out, and then they didn't stick to it.
They didn't do it.
It was like they broke the yes and rule of like improv. It was like they established it. They're like, yeah, but what if? I just wandered off for no reason. Into like a creepy room that no one would want to go into.
Richie, the kid with the glasses, he goes into that mannequin room because he thinks he sees Eddie, but it's like, he clearly wasn't Eddie.
No.
He was like, and like went behind a mannequin. He was like, Eddie? Like, that's not Eddie, you dumb fuck.
But it was even once he was in the room, he knew. And there was like signs that were like some creepy ass shit, and he was like,
turn around.
And he was like, oh, I better walk up to that and feel it and like pull some cloths off some shit and just make sure nothing crazier is going on underneath. So I guess if I had to sum up my feelings about the movie, I'm disappointed that people think so highly of it. Because it's good, it's a fun horror movie, and it's cool that it has like more storyline to it that's kind of a fun storyline, but it feels like maybe the bar for horror is so goddamn low right now that people are, it's like a bunch of starving people and they're like, oh, a slice of bread, it's gourmet. I don't want to like shit on it because it was fun, but people are maybe making it out to be a little more.
So don't believe the hype, but it might be fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
like
happy
horror.
I went to see it.
Yeah.
I think I would recommend it.
I was having trouble. I was a little disenchanted by the time I got to the movie. I did finish the book this morning.
She's been shouting like all evening since she finished this book. She's like, no spoilers, because we keep it very clean and professional until we get here. We do not discuss beforehand. This is all real. But I know you've been angry. That has been clear.
We'll talk about the end later.
Okay.
In a little bit. But in general, the best description I heard of this book is that it's bloated. And it is fucking bloated. It is almost 1,100 pages. So by the time I was getting to the end...
It's a lot of pages.
I was like, this end better be fucking amazing. Or like, I'm gonna lose it. And for me to go through all of this to get the end that I got wasn't worth it. And it did something very upsetting that made me cry. But we're gonna talk a little bit... They didn't put that in the movie. What was in the book that upset me so much wasn't in the movie.
Okay.
But I do want to talk a little bit about the ending of the movie, because Beverly is a pretty tough character still. She's like, she attacks it, she shoves fucking poles through its face.
Yeah.
She's like, she's
throws rocks
going
at Henry. Out there.
There are 7 kids, and guess which one Pennywise kidnaps, so all the boys have to rescue? It's fucking Beverly. I'm really done with the damsel in distress thing. That's not in the book. Beverly isn't taken. They all go into the sewers together. So it bothered me a lot that Beverly was taken and all the boys come together to rescue her. That alone, like, it's fucking 2017, guys. Like, why are we still kidnapping girls for boys to come rescue? Not only that, but can we stop kissing unconscious girls to wake them up? For the love of God.
Oh my God, when that happened, I was like, oh no, please don't. Come on, man.
Don't kiss her, man. She's unconscious. And why did that wake her up? There was no fucking explanation for it.
The love triangle? There were still scenes where it was like Beverly is like sunbathing and they're all just like staring at her while some sexy ass like music plays.
They're like going through puberty and whatnot.
I get that.
But like, it just wasn't necessary at all. Why can't she just be like in the group and fighting the monster like everybody else?
It can be possible to represent going through puberty without having a scene of like in her underwear, eyes closed, sunglasses on, not paying
13.
attention, and them all staring at her, like just staring. Like that, you can easily represent sexual tension without a 13-year-old in her goddamn underwear.
Yeah, so that's frustrating. One of the problems with the ending in the book, and I won't talk about it too much because it's possible it might be in the sequel, They try to explain a little too much about where it came from, and that definitely disenchanted me to it. I don't need to know so much about where the monster came from. The monster's scary, he's big and evil, we need to beat him. That's all we need to know. There's also, like, I liked how they did this in the movie better, where the idea was, we face our fears, we're not afraid of you anymore, we can beat you.
I felt beat over the head with that concept.
Yeah, it was a little too much, for sure. The book, it's like a whole ritual that Bill goes through of, like, going into another dimension and, like, seeing a giant turtle, and it's very cosmic. It's so fucking weird. So that was very disappointing to get to the end. There's one big thing in the end that I do want to talk about.
Okay.
It's kind of upsetting, and it involves a lot of sexualizing children.
Great.
So from the beginning, these kids are 11. It's just chug it up, chug it up. That's what I need. You know what?
I need more wine before I sexualize children. It looks like gravy coming from that thing.
I'm not drinking gravy. I don't think this is going to be in the sequel because this happens when they're children.
Okay.
So I'd be very surprised if it's something that is included in the next movie. But I guess a warning, this doesn't happen in the movie, but it's in the book. And it involves sexualizing 11-year-olds. So right off the bat, Beverly is too sexualized for me in the book, throughout the book. She's 11. It's, like, impossible to go a few pages without somebody talking about how they have a boner for her. It's, like, constantly talking about, like, how she's dressed and how she's standing. And it's only with her character.
That's hard because it's, like, it's probably from the point of view of, like, a hormone-driven
I guess
male,
that's true.
But do we need that? Regardless, you know that this book is not written for 11-year-olds.
No.
So therefore, you need to understand your audience and know that going into the world of an 11-year-old, there's realism and then there's inappropriateness.
It was it felt to me inappropriate. Okay, so they go into the sewers. They have their battle, whatever. They're getting out. And they're kind of imply that when we're together, we're stronger, we have power. And they're starting to lose their power because they fought it, and their power is starting to fade. And Eddie's power was navigation. And at this point, he now can't navigate them out of the sewers.
Because of his boner?
No, because his power. Which I guess could be a boner, I don't know. So Eddie can't navigate anymore, and Beverly's like, who's 11? We're drifting apart, guys. We need to get closer together. She takes her clothes off. She says, I know how we get closer together. You all have to put your thing inside of me. All 6 of them, one after another, then have sex with Beverly.
What?
Who is 11. And they are all 11. It is an 11-year-old gangbang in the sewers.
Oh my god.
I'm still, like, on the edge of tears right now.
That you just had to read that?
That I had to read that, and it was portrayed as being, like, this beautiful thing of, like, Beverly opening herself up to 6 boys in a row, and she's 11.
I don't even know what to say right now.
And I was fucked up, and I was like, it's several pages that we have to go through this, of Beverly having sex with 6 boys in a row. I just am kind of skimming through it, and, like, losing my shit. Like, I finally get to the end. I don't even care what happened after that. I was just, like, trying to get to the end, and I was just so upset, and I'm still upset. And by the time we went to see the movie, I was like, I don't even care. I'm just so mad and so upset. And, like, that was her purpose. That was Beverly's purpose.
So, first of all,
yeah,
I have put down many a book for sexual content I dislike. That is an immediate, like, as soon as it's on one page, I'm like, I'm done. And if it's any kind of sexual content, I don't like romance. If it gets, like, a little too non-consensual, aka rape, but a gangbang would be a definite, like, down.
It was so
for
hard
me.
to keep going.
And that's with adults. So, fuck. Like, I know I was texting you like, did you finish it yet? I'm so excited for the movie. Don't tell me how it is.
I wasn't there yet. I only got to this point. And they kind of, like, hint at it at some point. They hint at it, like, Beverly kind of remembers, like, oh, did I have, like, or did I, like, make love to all of you? I thought it was maybe a metaphor.
Do not fucking tell me that they forgot about that along with all the other shit.
They forgot everything, yep. It was so fucking bizarre.
Especially for, like, a fucking already sexually abused character.
She's sexually abused. So for her, it's like her dad gets mad and is like, you're hanging out with all these boys. I know that, like, what you do with them. So for Beverly, it was like, this is what girls do with boys kind of thing. There's a heavy theme of friendship in this book, and I get that they were like, let's come together as friends. You don't have to do that by all fucking the same girl. First of all, it's heteronormative as shit that they all had to fuck a girl. Like, it was just so... I was so done. I was so fucking done.
I can't even, like, touch on all the things wrong with that.
That's wrong with... Okay.
Like,
So
you should just be able to say, like, oh, and then they all gangbanged Beverly at 11 years old, and we should all be done here.
No, that's...
We should all be done.
Look at the fucking reviews for this book. If someone talks about this, a bunch of fucking men come in, and they're like, you just don't understand. It was necessary for the plot. And it's like, you don't fucking understand what it's like to be portrayed over and over and over again as a fucking whole.
Sex is a plot device, didn't you know?
I can't do this anymore. I can't keep seeing myself as just an object for men to have sex with, because it's just constant.
Yeah.
And like, I know we're getting kind of serious here, and we're normally not serious, but I was so upset that I read 1,000 pages to get to that.
Can I just say right now, you just tear this book up? I kind of, like, want you to tear the...
It's a book! Should I get to the Beverly sex scene and...
It is a book with a gangbang of 11-year-olds. Tear those pages up. Not all books are sacred. And I think if there's one thing we've established here today, it is that this book is not sacred.
Do you want to know which 11-year-old has the biggest dick and gave her an orgasm? Yeah, she had orgasms at 11 years old. An 11-year-old who had the biggest penis. Oh my god. Oh my god. I just, like, was so fucking upset in this book.
I'm upset now.
And it was so late in the book, like, to dedicate all of this time to a novel, to get to the last 50 pages and see this. So before we went to see this movie, I looked up, is this scene included in the film? Because if it was, I wasn't going to go. I was going to call up Sarah and be like, I can't do this. I'm so sorry. We can't even do this episode. But it wasn't in there, which is good. But Stephen King was quoted as saying years later, oh, I didn't think of it as a sexual scene, he said. I just thought it as everyone transferring into adulthood. Because as you see, it's like, there is a big childhood versus adulthood theme. Which is so insulting to me to think that, oh, you're having sex, you're an adult now. No, sex is not the sign of adulthood.
Oh god, this is it!
You found it! You found it! I'm so sorry. I was starting to skim. I didn't read the whole thing. I couldn't do it. I couldn't read it. I literally could not read that scene. And I mean, this book has so many 5-star ratings. What the fuck is wrong with you? We're probably going to get some downs on this video, and I don't care. What is wrong with you?
No, those people don't watch our videos. Oh my god! Can I rip it?
Yes, rip it!
You need to rip this.
I need to rip first?
These are some pages.
I was reading it, and I actually almost ripped this whole thing.
Do it. Do it. Ah! Fuck! Ah!
Fuck!
Ah! I need a drink.
A gangbang with 11-year-olds. What is inside of you that you write that? And it's a positive experience.
Oh my god, I've read books by Stephen King.
I know. I don't want to read any more books by Stephen King, to be honest with you, and I have a few. This is officially my declaration of I'm not reading books written by men anymore. For a little while. I'm going to try to give myself a year. We'll see.
So many books to read that, like, especially when you think about what you've read in the past, I think making a call like that, maybe it's not forever, but taking a time period like that is more opening than it is limiting.
I'm just like, I was just so upset and hurt by this, and I just don't want to do it again. I don't want to risk it again. I'm sick of how men write us as just tits and like, do you ever read a book and you're like, oh, she woke up and her breasts were perky and she bounded down the steps and her breasts were bouncing and the fabric rubbed against her nipples and turned her on, and it was like, it's just so much and I just can't fucking do it anymore.
You know what? I want everyone to comment your favorite, like, female authors. Let's feel good again. Like, women are awesome. They're diverse. They're great. They're complex. We need female cleansing books. We need to just feel the cleansing of the 11-year-old gangbang.
Oh my god. I can't believe that's in there. Like,
I can't believe that's in a book. Maybe it's just like everyone saw that it was Stephen King and just kind of skimmed it because it was so long. Oh my god. So what other comments do you have about it? Anything else? Closing thoughts?
Don't read that fucking book.
Oh.
The movie's kind of fun.
Would you watch the sequel after reading that book?
I'll watch the sequel.
Okay.
I'm kind of curious what they
You've
do
already
with
read
it.
the source material. You've gone beyond that.
It can't get worse.
But please, like, Rebecca did this so that you don't have to.
Unless you're down with 11-year-old gangbangs. Apparently, a lot of people fucking are. Nobody gave a shit. Nobody gave a shit. I haven't read that much Stephen King. I wanted to read more. Nope. I was going to read some in October because I'm really into horror reads.
Oh my god, I don't think I've read any horror by women.
I think I have a few for October.
Okay. I want female written horror recommendations. Send it our way. We need that October TBR.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I'm really into
Fuck, let's shut this shit down.
Oh my god.
Let's shut this shit down. We're done. Okay. Obviously the book recommendation is a big fat
No. Fuck this book. If you like it, I'm sorry, but are you a pervert?
You're not sorry.
We're
not sorry. If you like this book, leave, and we don't want you as a subscriber. Like, frankly.
Unless you like everything about the book except that part, sure. There were things
That's
in the book
an
that were
apologist in my mind. Like, still no.
Yeah, still no. Watch the movie, I guess. The movie was fun. I think it would be better if I didn't know.
The movie.
If I didn't know the book, I think I would have enjoyed it more.
Oh my god.
I was checked out. I was checked out. I didn't even want to see the movie today. I almost went home after we saw the movie.
I was surprised because you were just talking about, like, I want to get this over with, and I was like, what are you talking about? We're having drinks and filming. This is so much fun. This is what we do. And you're like, let's just do this. It was the proclamation of a world-weary reader that came into this, and now I understand why. So, Jesus. All right. That is our review of Stephen King's It. Please fucking tune in next time when we talk about something with less gang rape in it.
It wasn't. I mean, it was consensual, I guess, but
I think anything under the age of consent is rape.
I mean, they were all 11.
But still
Doesn't
rape.
make it. It's still gross.
Still.
It's still gross. Join us next time when we talk about not 11-year-olds all fucking running a train on another 11-year-old.
Bye.
Bye.